Show what's good, everybody. So each class is getting a new skill and passives in Vessel of Hatred Diablo 4 expansion coming out in about a month in October, and today I'm going to show you. Let's talk about some stuff. So first things first, we got the Barbarian, and this one is called the Mighty Throw. This one is my most favorite one because I've been waiting for it for quite a while to play a ranged barb. So here we go with the Mighty Throw. It's a weapon mastery skill with a 12-second cooldown. But there is a weapon that you can make it a core skill with Third Blade. I cannot wait to make a build like that, but it does a 60% weapon damage, and it ticks as a dot for 20% weapon damage every second for 4 seconds. So not sure if this is scaling with like bleed and stuff like that, because bleed is a physical damage over time as well. So hard to say. This will be more like earthquakes though, I feel like. Now we get upgrades for this throw where you get increased attack speed by 25%. When the weapon is thrown out on the ground. So at this point, when it's ticking 4 seconds, you will have increased attack speed. Next up, when you swap weapons near any of your thrown weapons, it creates additional pulse, additional tick. So it's 5 seconds, and each pulse gives you a barrier scaling from max HP, which is not too bad. But there is a better one, Warrior's Mighty Throw. It does an increased damage on impact of 200% multiplier, and also stuns enemies for 2 seconds. So I believe combining this with a retribution aspect could be pretty insane, pretty ridiculous. One-handed mace as a weapon mastery or technique for increased damage to stunt, we'll see. But this is what Barbarian is going for in the Vessel of Hatred. We will have PTR, aka Public Test Realm, on Wednesday, which is tomorrow. And I'll be making a build like that. So if you guys want to tune in, I stream every day on Twitch and also YouTube. I'll be testing out probably all of the skills, all the classes, I mean. So yeah, next up we got the Druid. This one is called Stone Burst. It's a core skill this time. It costs 30 spirit. It's gathering stones. It's a channeled ability that does 80% weapon damage. And if you channel, you deal even more damage. Also increase the size of the affected area up to 400% after 1 second. The upgrades are as follows. The final explosion damage is increased by 25% multiplier. Every time you see X is always better because it's multiplier, more damage. Next up, we got one channeling, and for 2 seconds after it ends, you gain increased attack speed, 30%, similar to Barbarians. And last one is, at the cost of more spirit, you will deal increased damage by 50% multiplier. So this for a core skill, this will be a very interesting build to play as a druid. I'm pretty excited about this one as well, because I like the animation and overall how it looks. So we'll see what we can cook with this bad boy. Necromancer has got Soul Rift. It's an ultimate skill. Kind of interesting how they're making like each of these skills for classes like different types. You know, ultimate skill, Druid core skill, Barb as weapon mastery. Kind of interesting. 50-second cooldown. But the corrupt enemies for 8 seconds, dealing 65% weapon damage per second, and every 0.25 seconds you rip out and absorb souls of the enemies, generating essence and giving you a barrier. This is similar like Bone Storm with the aspect. Here you don't need any aspect. The upgrades are every soul you absorbed increases your damage by 1% up to 30%. It persists 5 seconds after this skill ends. And next up is enemies with their souls ripped out to become vulnerable for 2 seconds. You also have a chance of extracting or absorbing, ripping out and absorbing these souls for the damage increase in here. So pretty interesting ability. I like how it looks. I still think Bone Storm will be superior because it gives you damage reduction and crit chance, but for Bone Storm you need aspects. This one you don't really need to. This is a lot of things in one skill, but being 50-second cooldown, we'll see after temperings and cooldown reductions how usable this will be. Rogue is up next. We got Dance of Knives. This feels like a little Whirlwind Barbarian, a baby Whirlwind Barbarian. So it's a cutthroat agility skill with 6 charges, and each charge has 1 second cooldown. When channeling, enter channeling ability. Seems like that's the theme for next season, I believe. It looks like you'll get increased movement speed and dodge chance, and it deals 42% weapon damage, which is nothing too high. But I believe you can upgrade it further with 10% whatnot. So the upgrades are every 30 meters while channeling Dance of Knives grants 4 charges. You can use it more often. Next upgrade is when you stop channeling Dance of Knives, you drop stun grenades, dealing 20% weapon damage each, and you know it's the channel duration determines how many are dropped. And last upgrade is enemies hit by this are slowed. and it has a chance to pierce the enemy. This means that, you know, the dagger will go through the body, potentially damaging other enemies around or behind it. So this one, it looks, I really like the animation, but to me, it seems like it doesn't like attack as often. Maybe this is affected by attack speed, but I don't see this really doing a lot, to be honest. It's good for AoE clears and whatnot, probably for infill horde, but single target ability, I don't know, I could be wrong, but it looks cool. I like this idea. Last one, we got Sorcerer. This one is called Familiar. It's a conjuration skill with 3 charges and 12-second cooldown for each charge. It's a familiar of the element of your last skill for 8 seconds, like a summon, and it just explodes on the target, dealing 40% of its element damage in the area, and you can have up to 6 at a time. Upgrades are as follows. It passively applies the effect on the nearby enemy based on their elements, so fire does burning, cold does chill on the target, and lightning is stunning. Now, while you have 2 or more different elements familiar summoned, you gain damage reduction, 3%, seems a bit low. It's no longer tied to your previous cast skill, instead, familiar element progresses in sequence. So the sequence is fire to cold, cold to lightning, lightning to fire, and again. Last upgrade, while familiar is active, you get increased damage to skills that deal its damage type. I feel like this is much more better. I'm not too sure about the summoned familiar, but it looks like this. We'll see how this works. It's an interesting idea, but I didn't really expect this for Sorcerer. I'm gonna be honest here. It could be good though, I could be wrong. Overall, in general, like all these ideas for skills for each class is pretty interesting. I gotta say that. We'll see how it works in the field, right? Now talk about the new passives for each class. We got 5 for each class actually. So Barbarian has got Belligerence, excuse me if I mispronounce, but if you damage an enemy with basic skill, your damage is increased up to 9% for 4 seconds. This is pretty good. Overall, just, you know, basic skill builds, pretty good passive. Heavy Hitter, your ultimate skills deal increased damage. Now, ever since the launch, ultimate skill damage was absolutely the most useless affix. I'm not sure why we're getting this, because I believe this is a multiplier, so that's a pretty good damage increase, but I just don't see this happening or working. I could be wrong though. It could be enough to make this skill work with the gems on weapons, which might be actually changed for weapons as well, but I could be wrong. Warpath is another one. After overpowering, you deal increased damage for 4 seconds. I believe this one gets even higher the more ranks you put into it. Irrepressible. Casting Weapon Mastery Skill fortifies you for max life 10%. Now, you can make your Weapon Mastery Skill core skills. They will get 2 labels. Core Skill and Weapon Mastery. You can spam them. So with each, you know, casting a skill that's Weapon Mastery labeled, it is a lot of 45 for each cast. So you can make these skills just spammable. You can spam them as long as you have Fury. It's just pretty cool. Now this key passive is pretty interesting. Barbed Carapace. Every 25 Fury spent, you will gain Thorns for 8 seconds up to 170%. Now casting a skill with cooldown grants you Unhindered, and Unhindered is you deal 100% of your Thorns as a physical damage to close enemies every second. So pretty interesting idea. You will be a walking dot, basically, right? This could be good with the weapon throw ability and also earthquakes. Could be very interesting. I will see how it goes. I might try to build into overpower, where if you kill a target with the overpowered, you will spawn earthquake. Could be pretty interesting. We'll see how it goes. Pretty excited. Now Druid has more like damage increases. So you get Humanity, you deal more damage while in human form. Catastrophe, you deal more damage for 8 seconds after casting ultimate skill by 15%. That's pretty good. For Aptitude, you deal increased damage while healthy and increased damage while above 100% movement speed. These bonuses can stack as well. That's pretty cool. Honestly, Druid needs damage increase for sure. My favorite is Shred, so we'll see if it's viable finally. Backlash is increasing damage for 5 seconds after casting a defensive ability. This could scale with more ranks into it. 4% doesn't seem as high. One with Nature is also a new key passive for Druid. Your companion skills each gain 1 additional companion and deal increased damage by 50% multiplier. Gain the passive effect of Ravens, Wolves, and Poison Creeper, which is pretty good. That's very good. It looks like summoning a Druid might be a big thing next season, in the expansion with the Wolves and whatnot. It was showcased in the stream as well. You can have like up to 6 or even more Wolves. It's pretty crazy. So I can see this being very good. Necromancer has got Necrotic Fortitude. We got Lucky Hit. Your damage has a chance to grant a barrier of max life for 6 seconds. This is pretty good because Necromancer in general is around lucky hits. Finality, you deal increased damage for 8 seconds after casting ultimate. This is the same as Druid. A lot of these passives are shared. Titan's Fall, while fortified, you deal increased damage to elites. This is insane. 18% damage multiplier, damage to elites. This is very good. Precision Decay is lucky hit is increased, similar to Sork. He's got the same. Affliction is a key passive, a new one as well. Enemies affected by vulnerable, CC, or shadow dot damage over time are infected with affliction and take 15% more increased damage from you and your minions. Your curse skills, this is very interesting. Your curse skill deal weapon damage, shadow damage to enemies that have affliction. This amount is increased by 30% multiplier of your damage to CC, vulnerable, and dot combined. Okay, so this key passive will be very crazy for Necromancer. Curious how this plays out. You can honestly you might even be able to run around with only 2 curses on the skill bar and just, kill stuff with curses. So, because 80% of shadow damage is pretty good if the mobs are afflicted with affliction. But yeah, just to make sure you always apply vulnerable on the target, and you will always have this. So, my favorite on Necromancer is Sever. Sever applies vulnerable after 4th cast, something like that. I'm gonna try it. I'm gonna try and see how it goes in PTR. Now we get Rogue next up. Target practice, your crit chance, big marksman, and cutthroat skills increase by 9%, up to 9%. Ballistra, gain damage increase for 4 seconds after using evade. Very good. Can have this buff non-stop. Evasive, after dodging an attack, you gain damage reduction for 4 seconds, up to 6% damage reduction. Ultimate skills deal increased damage, similar like Barbarian, same thing. Alchemical Admixture, key passive for Rogue. Dealing 3 different types of non-physical damage increases the potency of your imbuement skills by 40% for 5 seconds. I believe there is a Paragon board that does that improves this as well. This bonus further increased by 20% of the total amount of your bonus damage to shadow, poison, and cold. These are the non-physical attacks. So we're looking like a triple element rogue, similar like sorcerer, right? With the familiars, you will probably want to have all the elements as well. Pretty interesting idea for a key passive. And last one, we got Sorcerer, gaining even more cooldown reduction. I wish I had this on a Barb or any class. This is very good passive. Energy Focus, you generate a 6-second barrier for a max life every second up to 30%. This effect is lost for 5 seconds after losing health. Interesting passive. Dampen Layer, you gain DR while you have active barrier. There is a similar aspect for the Ice Shield, because that's the barrier. It does the same thing, so extra DR, interesting choice. Elemental Synergies, your Frost, Shock, and Pyromancy damage is increased by 3% for each skill you have equipped of that type. A very good passive for damage increase. I like that. Enlightenment is a key passive. Casting any skill grants 1 stack of Enlightenment, or grants 15 if your previous cast skill was a different element. More about different element usage like I just talked about. After gaining 100 stacks, you become enlightened, can no longer gain stacks, lose 10 stacks per second. While you're enlightened, your damage bonus with fire, lightning, cold are equal to them combined, and you gain increased damage multiplier, mana regen, attack speed. Very good key passive. Pretty wild one, it gives a lot of buffs. I think this will be a way or just go to on Sork. I could be wrong though. And yeah, pretty interesting playing. Might be too many stacks though, not sure. If you keep rotating in the elements, could be fine. Could be fine, but that's pretty crazy. But yeah, this was the summary of actives and passive skills for all the classes. I might make a video separate to glyphs because this one is already going for too long. So Paragon board and glyphs is getting changed as well, how it works, and there's a limitation to that as well, which is pretty cool. But if you guys are interested in PTR and the new stuff I just talked about today, make sure to tune in on the streams both on YouTube or Twitch. I will be live tomorrow from Wednesday. It releases 7 PM in my time, which is around, it's 4 PM right now. That's like 27 hours from now releasing, if I'm not mistaken. So if my math still maths. But anyways, I would like to thank you all for watching. I appreciate you all, legends. Have a good one. Until next time, take it easy and peace.